Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever works for you. Before we get going on today's video, I want to apologize up front. I have a little bit of a cold thing going on apparently. Um, got a cough drop in my mouth. I will try to keep that from interfering with what I say. You may see some additional edits in this so that I can stop and clear my throat or blow my nose or any of those other human things. You know how that goes. So, all right, for today's subject, and I know this topic is going to likely push some buttons, but I ask everyone to please just breathe, sit back, and listen to the whole thing because instead of reacting right off the bat, contrary to what it might sound like, I'm not putting down religion. That's not my intent. The fact that religion exists is proof that it's desired on many levels, and that is as it should be. It does provide a place for people who need that comfort or that security, if you will, and that's okay. But the rub here about the way religions are working in today's world is that in order for us to truly awaken to who we really are, which is why we're here, we have to move past the barriers and the dogma that religion puts out there. And we have to understand how the universe really works. Now, what does that entail? It entails dropping the old stories of how the earth came into being, how man and woman were created, et cetera, et cetera. Because those are not reality. Those are stories that we have been told. If we choose to hold on to these stories, then we will continue to be in this reality. If that's where you desire to be, then go for it. Enjoy it. Be it. That is your experience. But if you truly desire to awaken your higher self or awaken to the universe and the truth of the universe, then we have to move past these old stories and the continued indoctrination that exists within organized religions. That is another way to say it is we have to be out of our minds and in our hearts. Now, before I go on, I want to say that the Bible is of many, many people's go-to book for everything, as it should be apparently, because that's what's happening. And it has many parables that can provide some wisdom, but we have to understand that the writings that are in the Bible were made thousands and thousands of years ago from stories that were passed down word of mouth, generation to generation, and were not written down until literacy showed and people started learning how to write language. Now, I don't know if any of you have taken sociology courses or anything like that, but it's a proven fact that if you put a circle of 20 people together and you give someone a story and you tell them to repeat it and it goes around the entire 20 people, by the time it reaches the 20th person, it's a completely different story because everybody has their own filters. Everyone has their own voice inflections, their own take on that story. So without knowing what the original story was at the beginning, it goes and it becomes modified with each person that's telling the story. Can you imagine these phenomenal stories that were being told generation to generation, and how turned or miscued, mistold, and misunderstood they were by the time that they actually reached a written format? Now, during the time that Jesus was alive, many stories of his abilities and his teachings and his actions with people were told. And there's the key word, told. They didn't stop and write all this down as it was happening. He didn't have the voice recording equipment that we have today. His disciples did not write this stuff down as it was occurring. It was all done much later. Now, I was a police officer for 20 years. I've written thousands of reports, and I know from that experience that if you don't write this stuff down, or take notes at least, as quickly as possible, the elements either fade, you don't remember everything, or you modify it just a little bit. Therefore, the report is not totally accurate, which is why you always see a police officer with a notepad writing everything down right away, because that way they don't have to try to remember it. The reason I bring this up is because it falls into the same thing as the old stories of the creation of the earth, the creation of mankind, and such and such. Many stories about Jesus have been created to make him this incredible, saintly Son of God. And don't misunderstand. I am not challenging that. We are all sons and daughters of the universe, of God, if you want. He was as we are, even in his teachings according to the Bible. He has said many times, why do you look at me in that manner? You could do this and so much more. He was letting everyone know we are as he is, but people didn't believe it, just as many of you may not believe it right now. You and I have the creative power of the universe in our hearts and in our self. We just don't know it. We don't believe it because we've been told that that doesn't exist. And why have we been told that? Well, it's simple. The people who are running the organized religions, even back in the Pope days of the early Catholic Church, they wanted the control. They told the people, you're not worthy of talking to God. That is one of the biggest falsehoods ever laid on man or mankind. Because not only are we worthy of it, we are the creator gods. We are part of that. This is one of the reasons that I say that in order to become awakened to who we really are, we need to step away from those stories, because they will keep us anchored to this earth. It wasn't until the Council of the Nicaea that Jesus was actually declared the Christ. He was just a man, just like I am, just like many of you are. He just had an awareness of how the universe worked. He was in touch with spirit, with ourselves, with the higher self. Now, there was also the story of the creation of the Christian church. I want to apologize for interrupting here, but I caught a mistake that I made, so I'm correcting it. I said in grave error that Paul created the Christian church, which I'm not sure why that fell out of my brain, but it did. Peter, of course, is the one that did that. And so I'm making that correction here, and we can move on. Okay? This falls back into the patriarchal aspect of history, where man had to be this focal point of authority and rightness. The real founder was supposed to be Mary Magdalene, who was Jesus' wife. Now, before you go flipping out, it's a fact. She was Jesus' wife. Many documents say this. Many documents argue with it because they don't want that to be the place. They don't want that truth. But it's the truth, period. Can't argue. Since the creation of this Christianity, there have been many wars based on whose God is right and wrong, who is the chosen and who is not. We go through this even today with the radical Muslims and the radical Christians, and it is lunacy that we continue to perpetuate these old stories of whose God is right. We're all part of the same source. We are all right. If somebody has to be right or wrong, we are all right. As I said at the beginning, I'm not anti-religion. If religion gives you solace and security, then by all means, you're not ready to go to the next level of awakening yourself. And that's okay. Nobody is going to put you down. Well, I'm not going to put you down for it because, as I've said before in many of these videos, we are all on a path of experiences, and it turns and shows up exactly as it's supposed to. But for the people who have found that those stories for some reason aren't setting well or don't seem to be working like they used to, this is your higher self tapping you on the shoulder and saying, there's another way. There is another path to wholeness, to truthfulness. And that's when your spiritual awakening starts. It's the internal desire within all of us to ultimately wake up. Some do it on your deathbeds. You see people or shapes there waiting for you. You see lights. You see all of this, and that is your awakening. It might be very rapid, and that's okay. Or you could do it the way we're doing it today, by exploring the other ways, the other aspects, the availabilities for universal truth, the ultimate truth. Now, there is a saying, a statement that a lot of people will argue with, and go for it. That's fine. It's a truth, and that is that religion can have spirituality, but spirituality does not need religion to exist, because spirituality is here. It's not out here. It's in here. We are the energy to let that light shine, the universal truth shine. It is that light that people follow. When you can achieve that element of understanding and acceptance of the truth of what is, you will find your friend base to expand because like-minded people gather. It's that frequency that I spoke of in a previous video, like a radio frequency. You are broadcasting that light, the knowledge, the truth, and it resonates with people. So they will come, even if it's just to be friends, so be it. If it's for you to assist them in their awakening, so be it. We're all helping each other here. That's what my purpose is here. That's why I'm doing these videos. This isn't to say you have to get on a YouTube channel and do that, but you can just share your experience, share your life, how you've gone from A to B to C to D, and all the steps in between. To use one of Jesus' statements from the Bible, I am the light, the way, and we are also the light and the way. Let's all go out and be that light and the way. And then tomorrow we can reaffirm that if we so choose and go from there. If you've made it to this point, thank you for not shutting it off and closing off your mind. Perhaps you would like to subscribe and hit that little bell so that you'll know when the next video comes out. There's also the website up here that works in conjunction with these videos. I put blogs on those. There are resources for you to check out. Normally, I don't promote my own book series that I wrote, but I'm going to explain about this book and how it came about. Many years back, 8, 10 years ago, I would wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and I would have these short stories or poems or poetry going through my mind, and I would get up and write them down. This was kind of commonplace for me. I felt like the way that they flowed, that they were given to me from my higher self, from spirit, if you will. One morning, this was after my wife passed, March 2016, I got this nudge to get out of bed at 4:15 in the morning, 4:30, somewhere in that neighborhood. Too early in my mind for that morning to get up and write. And I literally laid in bed and argued with that voice saying I did not want to get up. Well, it would not leave me alone. Finally, I surrendered. I got up, came out to my computer here, and said, okay, so what am I going to type? And as I said that, this movie, for the lack of a better way to say it, started playing in my mind. And I got the inspiration to transcribe everything I was seeing and hearing and experiencing. It ended up becoming this book. And it is called Come Again. It's the Maria series. Now, there's 4 books to that series. They all came in the same fashion, all of the stories. And I found myself really surprised at some of the elements that were taking place in these books. In book 2, there's a place where Maria has his vision of this guy. He shows up in book 3. Sorry if I'm a plot killer or something like that, but I'm just trying to explain that this is not something that I set down and mapped out. It just came to me. I don't write my books that way. My books all come as information flowing through me. Now, the reason I bring these books up is because they bring in so many universal truths, and they do explain it in ways that are much better sometimes than even what I do right here, but verbally. Um, I think that's because in the moment that I was writing that, Spirit was transcribing these books for me. So all I was doing was typing down what I heard. And here I'm getting the information, but I'm formulating it to become vocal, if that makes sense. Anyway, I don't want this to go into a big long spiel or ad for my books. If you're interested in having a printed reference, these books would be a good one to have. Throughout, they do bring out these truths and help people to understand what's going on. They are available on Amazon and other booksellers if you're interested. All right. I am going to end this video now. I hope that everybody has a great day. And as I said before, be the light, be the way, be the example of how you want the world to be. Show people how you think is the right way. Okay? Have a great day, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.